A man who fooled authorities for straight 20 years and transported over 73,000 kilograms of cocaine from Colombia to El Salvador, all the way from Mexico to the USA. This man is estimated to have directly killed over 600 lives and indirectly have killed over 441,000 lives. He is the one to build a multi-billion-dollar cocaine empire named Clan del Golfo, and under the shadows, he ruled the drug empire. Not only did he trade drugs, but also engaged in murders, assaults, and kidnappings. This is the story of Colombia's most sinisterful gangster who fooled all the security agencies of the USA and trafficked drugs for over 20 years. This is the story of Daniel Rendón Herrera, known as Don Mario. Don Mario was born in 1966 in Antioquia to a poor family. He was one of 14 children, and one of his older brothers is Freddy Rendón Herrera, also known as El Alemán. His entire family is involved in crime. Everything started 2 years before, when he was born in 1966. During that time, things were very difficult in Colombia. Let's see what was happening back then for reference. The Colombian guerrilla war began on May 27, 1964. In this conflict, different groups are fighting for power. On one side are the Colombian government, far-right paramilitary groups, and crime syndicates. On the other side are far-left guerrilla groups like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, also known as FARC, and the National Liberation Army, also known as ELN. Remember these group names because Don Mario's whole life revolves around them. They all want more control over Colombian territory, which keeps this civil war going. In 1964, the National Liberation Army attacked a liberal group in Colombia's mountains. This made local farmers, known as campesinos, angry, and they joined the FARC. This started a war against the government that lasted 52 years, ending in 2003. We'll talk more about the peace deal from 2003 later in this video. Now, if we jump ahead a bit to the 1980s, when Don Mario was 14 years old, a new group was forming. Don Mario and his brother started working together with this unofficial local group. The group, originally unofficial, later became known as the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, AUC. They became official in 1997. In the 1980s, drug lords formed their own armed groups or militias to fight against rebels who were kidnapping people and extorting money from them. They were supported by the drug trade and backed by local landowners, ranchers, mining companies, politicians, and others. The group emerged as a powerful force. The AUC fought back against communist groups like FARC and ELN. They also attacked many innocent people, starting with the Mapiripan massacre in 1997. Exactly the same year it became official they did this massacre, resulting in over 100 deaths, with many bodies thrown into the Guaviare River. In 1997, when Don Mario was 31 years old, he was second in command after his brother Freddy in a group called the Elmer Cardenas Bloc. This group was part of a bigger organization called the ACCU, which stands for Field Workers Self-Defenders of Córdoba and Urabá. In English, the ACCU operates under AUC, United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. This means Don Mario has a lot of climbing to do because he was working within a smaller part of the AUC. The Castaño brothers played a big part in creating the AUC. Don Mario was friends with Carlos Castaño Gil, who was the top leader of the AUC. Don Mario even named one of his groups after Castaño, called Heroes of Castaño. Later, this group became part of a new organization he created, called the AGC, Gaitanist Self-Defense Forces of Colombia. In the Urabá region, he commanded 400 men and controlled drug trafficking through alliances with guerrilla groups. In 2003, the AUC was close to demobilizing as part of Colombia's justice and peace process. This was a plan where paramilitary and guerrilla groups would surrender to the government. They'd stop their criminal activities, give up their weapons, and forfeit their criminal assets. In return, they'd get lighter punishments and wouldn't be sent to the United States for trial. However, instead of surrendering, Don Mario and others who disagreed with the decision regrouped their AUC forces. They formed a new group called Los Urabellos or Gulf Clan, and the conflict persisted. Based on the scale he was operating, it's estimated that he personally caused the deaths of more than 600 people while he was in charge. Criminal life. In 2003, when the peace deal happened, Don Mario's brother accepted it, but Don Mario refused. At that time, more than 30 new criminal gangs emerged. Despite being just 38 years old, Don Mario's Gulf Clan became the most powerful criminal organization in Colombia. This was the time when he truly demonstrated his leadership skills and ability to successfully lead a group. As mentioned earlier, he had been involved in criminal activities since the 1980s, starting when he was just 16 to 18 years old. From June 2003 to December 2014, he held the most power, and his group was deeply involved in transporting large shipments of cocaine from Colombia to Mexico, ultimately destined for the US. He built his criminal empire in such a way that even after his arrest in 2009, his operation continued until 2014. Despite facing law enforcement, he refused to reveal any information. People suspect that he didn't share any information so that he could remain powerful and negotiate with authorities for a lighter punishment or possibly escape jail altogether. We'll learn more about this later in the video when we discuss the punishment he received. Don's arrest. Don Mario was captured on April 15, 2009, while hiding in a jungle. Some members of the group, like Daniel Rendón Herrera, his brother, surrendered their weapons under a peace deal in 2003. They received lighter punishments and were not sent to the USA. However, Don Mario was sent to the USA for trial. Under his control, the Gulf Clan became Colombia's most feared gang, smuggling tons of cocaine to the US and killing anyone who opposed them. As the police intensified their search for Don Mario in 2009, he offered a $1,000 reward to anyone who killed a police officer. After a 9-month search, he was found in Antioquia province. The defense minister at the time, Juan Manuel Santos, said he had been found in his underwear, eating rice from a plate like a dog. Authorities' statement, Don Mario confessed to being guilty. He admitted to running a massive illegal operation worth billions of dollars. According to United States Attorney Brayon Peace, the sentencing marks the end of a man who was once the most feared narco-terrorist in Colombia. Peace stated that Don Mario wasn't just selling drugs, but also making drug problems worse. This caused a lot of harm from Colombia to the United States. On October 17, 2022, in a court in Brooklyn, was sentenced to 35 years in prison for leading a large drug group called the Clan del Golfo, and 15 years for assisting a terrorist group called the Autodefensas Unidas de Colombia, AUC. Additionally, he was ordered to pay $45.7 million as part of his punishment. DEA Special Agent in Charge Tarantino. As the leader of the AUC and Clan del Golfo, Don Mario not only brought in huge amounts of cocaine to the United States, but also scared people in Colombia to make money. These violent drug gangs might seem far away, but they hurt communities right here in New York City, said FBI Assistant Director in Charge Driscoll. Attorneys' offices, the DEA, HSI, the FBI, the New York State Police, and Colombian police and authorities all have to join together to catch this kingpin. In the Netflix show Narcos, based on Pablo Escobar, Agent Steve Murphy asked a question, "How many people die for every kilo of cocaine?" The answer was shocking. 6 lives. That's how much it cost. This means he made and sold over 73,645 kilograms of cocaine, which is like 441,170 lives. We can't always say the drug lord is completely responsible for what he did. When he was gaining power and climbing up in the gang world around 1992, Colombia had more than 28,000 murders. Compared to that, the United States, which has 7 times more people, had about 25,000 murders only. This shows how tough the times were back then. Even in such tough times, I wouldn't agree with committing lots of crimes. What Don Mario did can't be justified in any way. His father and brothers were also criminals. The rules back then were straightforward. Either kill or be killed. Thanks guys for watching till this point. Making this video took over 60 hours of work. Please check the link in description, and if possible you can buy me a coffee. Thanks for watching till this point. Subscribe if you liked this video.